Hello everybody, this is Goopsome Fox coming at you with two matches here in the buffed Gundam Unit 5, which was buffed during the November 2024 unit adjustments. This first match here is going to be a 550 cost ground match using the level 3 version of the Unit 5, and this is also going to be an ace match as well. And then the match following this is going to be a 450 cost space match that's going to be using the level 1 Unit 5. And that one's going to be a basic match, so quite a variety of matches for this video here, and the Gundam Unit 5 is another mobile suit that was on my list of suits to try out as part of the massive unit adjustment they did, and it's kind of ironic that, the last video I did was on the Gundam Mark 5. Kind of ironic that I'm doing two raid units that both have 5 in their name, but yeah, Unit 5 here. This is the normal version of the Unit 5, which, yeah, they pretty much did every variant of the Unit 4 and 5. So they did the normal ones and the booster. All of those got adjusted. So really quite a lot when it comes to, what they did, and also just trying to make sure I have the unit adjustments correctly. The Gundam Unit 5 here, this one being the base version, it does go from 450 to 600. I'm hoping I have that right. I think that's the cost that it goes to, because then I think the booster starts at 500. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is how it's supposed to go. If not, leave it in the comments if I do have my cost wrong. But, that out of the way, really going to start getting into the unit adjustments here. Really what they added, and also changed with the suit as well, because they did replace some of the suit's original sub-weapons. So starting off with the unit specs as usual, the range attack boost was increased from 30 to 34, so more range damage. That's going to really come into play with some of the other things they changed. Your rotation speed was increased from 60 to 63. You have some changes to the part slots, where your close-range part slots will increase from 15 to 16, mid-range part slots will increase from 12 to 13, and your long-range part slots will increase from 5 to 7. And of course, this does apply to the upper levels of the Unit 5 as well. And then you have a new skill for the I keep wanting to call it the GO5 because that's what they call the weapons, but the Unit 5 here. You do have the unit skill Overfeed level 1, which has been given. That's going to be something I really touch up on later on in this video, but that's going to take us to our sub-weapons here. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be the new GO5G Gatling, which replaces the giant Gatling cannon. And this is an improved form of the original Gatling cannon, where the power has been increased from 125 to 150. Reload time has been shortened from 30%, not 30%, this is not a beam weapon. The reload time was shortened from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. I'm kind of thinking ahead to the beam gun here. That's going to have percentages. But then for the Gatling, they also extended the range of the ASL. And now that's going to take us to the beam gun, where we have the percentages there. And we have the GO5 beam gun unit. This replaces the original beam gun unit. Again, improved specs over the original, where power is increased from 200 to 250. The heat rate is reduced from 20% to 15%, and the range is increased from 150 to 250. So, yeah, that's everything we have for the adjustments here. And a lot of really good stuff here for the Unit 5, even though it seems like a small list. Not necessarily one that required a whole lot of time to cover, but a lot of these unit adjustments, it's kind of like what I mentioned when I covered the Mark 5. There is quite a bit here that makes a big difference. The first thing I want to talk about is definitely the Overfeed skill, where what that does is when you activate it, it instantly reloads all of your ballistic weapons, and it also makes reload time much shorter. And then it also makes you harder to stagger when this is activated. So a lot of benefits to using this. It especially pairs really well with the Gatling cannon. When they made the developer note talking about the unit adjustments, they did mention that being an issue that the Unit 5 here was facing, where it was very easy to stun it when it was trying to use the Gatling. So it does seem like the Overfeed skill here really was meant to be the way of sort of alleviating that problem, and it does the job really well. And, you know, since it applies to all of your ballistic weapons, you know, if you're using the Hyper Bazooka like I'm using, it's going to apply to that as well. If you're using the Vulcans, it applies to the Vulcans. It applies to anything as long as it is a ballistic weapon. Now, the one drawback to Overfeed is that when it does run out, you do end up in a period where you can't use your ballistic weapons. But really, it hasn't been that much of an issue, even though I'm using the Hyper Bazooka as my main primary, because, you know, in this situation, you'd be left only with your Beam Saber and the Beam Gun. But the good thing about Overfeed is that even when you're waiting for your weapons to recover, you can still reload them if you already used them. So that's really good. While you're waiting for your timer to run out, you can reload your weapons so you have a full mag when you're ready. And hey, here I am right now, pop in the Overfeed. Unfortunately, not going to get too much use out of it yet. Probably as more of the enemy team spawns back in, I'll probably be able to use it, but you can see here, Overfeed, you know, at work, how it operates and what it does. And really, I just recommend if, you know, you have some time to just go into free practice with the Unit 5, you know, use all of its ballistic weapons and, you know, test out the reload times in free practice for, like, the Hyper Bazooka and the Vulcans. The Vulcans ready up really fast because, well, Vulcans already have a short reload time to begin with, so for this, the Vulcans just ready up in like a split second, so that's a really good aspect of them there. But yep, there's the timer on the right, so my other weapons can't be used, but once that timer runs out, you can use your weapons normally again. You can't use Overfeed again until you respawn in your mobile suit, that's another thing. But the Overfeed skill, I know I'm kind of going all over the place. I'm kind of going between different things here, but the general gist of everything here is that the Overfeed skill is really good on the Gundam Unit 5, and I think this might be the first raid to have Overfeed, because I know the Zeku's Y has it, and that's the 4-star general, and the Gun Cannon Heavy Arms type, that suit has it as well, and that's a support, so I want to say this is the first raid. I might be wrong in that. There might be another raid that has it that I'm not familiar with, but I do think this might be the first one that got this skill. And again, especially when paired with the Gatling, it is really good. One of my favorite tactics to use is to just try to use the base Gatling, and once that runs out of ammo, just, you know, use the Overfeed, you get that instant reload, and you just have another 150 bullets to work with. So it does make for a very effective strategy, and before I continue on talking about the rest of the buffs here, you know, we're going to look at this first match, mission completed, the ace match here. And yeah, top in everything but divergence here. I think, nope, didn't last any praises, but first place with 10 kills and 0 loss. First place in most stats. Yeah, really, really good match there with the Unit 5, and that's going to take us to the 450 space match here. This is going to be the level 1 version, so yeah, had a really good space match as well. Really wanted to try the suit out in space for some reason, and glad I got a good match with it here as well. But moving on with the, you know, main parts of the buffs I want to focus about. You do have that increase to your range attack boost, which is, again, just really good because you have the Gatling, so you really want to try to get as much damage in with that as you can. And then even the rotation speed, you know, since you're going to be, you have to stop the fire to use the Gatling, having the extra rotation speed does mean you can, you know, keep up with targets a bit better. So that's another really good thing that they added as well. And then the new weapons that they added, the new replacements to the old sub-weapons, both of these feel really nice. I already talked about the Gatling in tandem with the Overfeed skill. I do think, you know, what they gave it, you know, the increased power, the shortened reload speed, and then you have the ASL as well, which makes it easier to aim for targets. Again, this is a lot of really good things for it. Yeah, decreased reload speed when you have a skill that already reduces your reload speed. And I'm pretty sure for both of my builds, I have reload parts on this, so you can get the Gatling back fairly quickly. So, if you have some downtime, don't be afraid to, start reloading the Gatling if you think you have time to do it. Yeah, I feel like you'd have a pretty decent window to, ready your Gatling again. But the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the beam guns. I do think these are a pretty reliable pair of beam guns that they gave the suit, and it's really nice that that's the case because, as I mentioned with the overfeed skill, when you're waiting for your weapons to ready up again, it does only affect your ballistic weapons. So you do have to have the beam gun as your main ranged option while you are waiting for that to ready up. And having the increased power and the increased range, not to mention the heat rate being reduced as well, does mean you can do quite a bit more with the ARM beam gun than you could before. So it does make it like a pretty reliable, like, it almost in quotes, like, sidearm style weapon to use if you, like, need something to kind of keep doing damage from a distance without feeling like you have to go necessarily with your melee. And technically, if you wanted to have another weapon that you could use, you could also use the Hyper Beam Rifle. That is another optional primary for the all the Gundam units, the Unit 4 and the 5, including the boosters. All of those can use the Hyper Beam Rifle. I don't know if I recommend the Hyper Beam Rifle for the Unit 5 here. I do think the suit does work a lot better with the Hyper Bazooka. Probably would save the beam rifle for maybe the Unit 4. I do think that one works a bit better with that suit. But when it comes to the Unit 5, again, I do think the bazooka does feel a bit more fitting and just better to work with. And even with the overfeed, when you aren't able to use it, again, the time is not really too bad, so you can reload the bazooka while you're waiting, and, once you use it, you have it back, it still just does normal bazooka things. So it's, it's a reliable instant stun. Hyper Bazooka is pretty much just a real basic instant stun weapon, pretty reliable in that matter. So, really the choice at the end of the day is up to you which one of the primaries you want to use. Again, I would recommend using the bazooka, the Hyper Bazooka. That's the one I prefer, but, in the end, it's really up to you which one you want to pursue. But, yeah, I think overall, if I had to do an overall just rating of the unit adjustments here, I do think they are really good on the Unit 5 here. I don't know if I'd say it's the same case where maybe it's like, how I said like with the Mark V. If you saw my Mark V video, I did apologetically say that was a suit I may have been glazing a little. Since I know, not everybody is still probably going to agree with the Mark V. Some saying it might still be underpowered, or maybe not just completely up to how I was saying it was. But the Unit 5 here, I feel like this is more of a different case. I do think the suit is viable. It is very viable, like as in the Ace match I had at 550. Even at the higher costs while I've been trying this, I've had some pretty decent matches with it. So I do think the base Unit 5 is a viable unit overall. And I really wish I could have spent more time trying out the other Unit 5 and the Unit 4s as well. I don't think I've played the booster versions of any of those suits yet, and I have tried the General, the Unit 4, the base Unit 4, and that one is pretty alright with what they did with it, because you can fire the Mega Cannon without charging it and just get like a basic instant stun. So some of the things they did with the Unit 4 is also really good. I just haven't had a really decent match with it to, make a video with it, so that's kind of like why I didn't really talk about that one. But the Unit 4, not the Unit 4, the Unit 5 here in general, I just found this one to be a bit more interesting in comparison to what the Unit 4 got. Again, it's mainly because of that overfeed skill. I do think the overfeed is a big improvement for the Unit 5 to have. The booster version didn't get it, so that one, if you think both units got it, no, it's only the base Unit 5 that got it. The booster version, I know that one got a new pair of Vulcans, and that's something that the base Unit 5 here did not get. And I think the booster got the new arm beam gun as well, so I think that they share. But the booster version, that one got a new pair of head Vulcans, while the base Unit 5 got a entirely new Gatling. So that's kind of the differentiation between both of the unit buffs, really. One got a new Gatling, one got new Vulcans, and again, really can't speak too much for the booster versions because I haven't tried them yet. But I do think for the Unit 5 booster here, not the Unit 5 booster, the base Unit 5, I am already confusing the suits. I do think for the base Unit 5, again, I think the buff for the most part is really good. It's a really nice improvement, and I think it really helps the suit stand out a bit more too, having the Gatling, the Overfeed option. So yeah, I think overall it's a pretty decent buff. And that's really all I have to say here. I don't know how many more of these buffs I'm going to do because we are now in December, and we're probably going to get some December unit adjustments soon, so I might try to cover a couple more of the November ones. I do have one more at the moment that I want to do, maybe two. I don't know if I'm going to stick to my original plan to cover all three types, unless I get any good matches with the one support I want to use. But for now, I only really have one other buffed unit on the schedule at the moment, so that is kind of the go-to before I really start trying to focus more on my usual video content, since I do have a few matches that I got for mobile suits that I really want to talk about, so we'll see how things end up going. But hey, timeout, mission over. Let's see how we did here with the space match real quick. And got some good works in the side chat, and top in damage and top in diversions for this match. Second place overall with 4 kills and 4 loss. First in assist and second in damage. The stats are not as impressive as the first match, that ace match that I had, but you know, still pretty decent stats overall. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have for this video here. Again, I do think it's a pretty good buff for the Gundam Unit 5 here. And yeah, I mean, it's good. That's really about it. It's good. It does what it needs to do. It fixes the issues that the devs stated were a problem when they did the developer letter, that being that it was very easy to stun it out of the Gatling. Using the overfeed, it alleviates that problem. So I think they did a pretty successful job in setting out what they meant to do. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this video here. Comment down below what you think about the buffed Gundam Unit 5. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Later.